Welcome to the Foundry by Forge College. Today we are diving deep into the engineering blueprints of early agreement problems to uncover exactly why distributed networks disagree so much. I'm your host, and we're actually taking a step back into the foundations of blockchain today. We're going to look at the fascinating and honestly slightly chaotic history before blockchain even existed. Have you ever tried to get a group of friends to agree on a pizza topping in a group chat, and somehow half the group ends up at the wrong restaurant entirely? It's a mess, right? Well, imagine trying to do that with thousands of computers scattered across the globe where some of them might literally be trying to lie to you. That is the core of what we're exploring in this explainer.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're covering the distributed agreement problem, the Byzantine Generals Problem, system failure mode suspects, breaking simple majority voting, timing and trust assumptions, and finally, detecting and fixing faults.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the distributed agreement problem, when timestamps aren't enough.
In our previous lesson, Influences on Modern Digital Currency Design, we established that timestamps are a brilliant mechanism for ordering events. They're great for preventing double spending. But, well, there's a catch. Deterministic ordering looks beautifully organized in theory, just a perfectly neat sequence. But in reality, timestamps aren't some magic fix. They entirely depend on the participants actually agreeing on the sequence. If the network can't agree on whose clock is right, or which timestamp came first, the whole thing falls apart. That disagreement creates a completely chaotic, broken system, and it renders those timestamps totally meaningless.
Moving on to Section 2, the Byzantine Generals Problem, the blueprint of betrayal.
To solve this agreement issue, computer scientists realized they couldn't just write better code. They actually had to map out the ghost in the machine using a famous thought experiment that models coordinated deceptive behavior. It's called the Byzantine Generals Problem. Picture three generals trying to coordinate an attack. For distributed agreement to work, it has to guarantee consistency, meaning everyone decides on the exact same battle plan, and validity, meaning the final decision actually reflects the honest inputs. But what happens when one general is a straight-up traitor? They start sending conflicting, arbitrary messages just to confuse everyone else. Think about it. How do you attack together when one flank is told charge and the other is told retreat? This right here is the foundational threat model for all decentralized systems.
Which brings us to Section 3, system failure mode suspects, profiling the breakdowns.
If we treat this explainer like a detective's investigation file, our next step is to profile the exact suspects. We need to know exactly how these network nodes can fail or betray us. We've got four main suspects here. First, the crash fault. A node just powers down and stops responding. It's annoying for sure, but we can manage it with timeouts. Second is omission. The node is awake, but it selectively drops messages. It's kind of like having selective hearing. Third, equivocation. Okay, this is where it gets spicy. The node is two-faced. It's actively telling completely different stories to different peers. And finally, the Byzantine fault. This is our ultimate supervillain. A Byzantine node can behave in any malicious way permitted by the laws of physics, fabricating messages, colluding, whatever it takes to break the system.
Let's look at how that actually plays out in Section 4, breaking simple majority voting, the ABC simulation.
Let's run a quick, somewhat gossipy practical simulation. We've got three nodes, A, B, and C. We're going to see how just one single fault can utterly destroy a simple majority vote. Now, if node C simply crashes, A and B can handle it, they realize C is gone, and they form a simple majority between themselves. No problem. But if C acts like a gossiping friend and equivocates, say sending a 0 value to A and a completely contradictory 1 value to B, that simple majority vote is instantly broken. Think about it. A sees 0 and thinks that's the absolute truth. B sees 1 and thinks that's the truth. Both A and B are acting honestly, but they are literally living in different realities now. The network completely splits.
Let's pivot to Section 5, timing and trust assumptions, the laws of physics in networks. So how do we fix those divergent local views? Well, first, we have to stop pretending that networks are perfect. We need to establish the harsh physical realities of our engineering blueprint. We have to be really explicit about our timing assumptions. Are we synchronous, meaning messages always arrive within a guaranteed time limit? Or are we completely asynchronous, where a message could take a millisecond or it could take a year, with absolutely no bounds? Or maybe we're partially synchronous, where things might be delayed, but they'll get through eventually. Alongside timing, we mathematically rely on an honest majority assumption. We just have to trust that a specific threshold of our nodes are actually playing by the rules, because if they aren't, consensus is just impossible. And this physical limit brings us to a massive, game-changing moment in computer science, the FLP impossibility result. Now listen, don't let the word impossibility freak you out. It's not a dead-end roadblock. Actually, it's a brilliant design signpost. It mathematically proves that in a purely asynchronous system, where messages can be delayed forever, you cannot guarantee both safety, which means no bad things happen, and liveness, which means a good thing eventually happens, if even a single, simple crash fault occurs. No way around it. It literally forced engineers to get creative. They had to start adding randomness or relying on partial synchrony just to make things work.
Finally, we reach Section 6, Detecting and Fixing Faults, Cryptographic Countermeasures.
Because perfect, guaranteed mathematical certainty is impossible in an asynchronous world, we have to engineer clever workarounds to detect the lies and fix the faults. Honestly, this approach perfectly mirrors the kind of rigorous, analytical problem-solving you'll find across Forge College's learning programs. We don't just accept failure, we design around it. We use three main tools. First, cryptographic signatures. These force nodes to sign their messages, turning a destructive, invisible secret into provable, detectable evidence. If node C signs a 0 for A and a 1 for B, A and B can just compare notes. This brings us to the second tool, gossip protocols, where nodes literally share the receipts of what they've been told. And finally, quorum intersections. These ensure that even if some nodes lie, enough honest nodes overlap in their communication to push the true story all the way through the network.
So what is the absolute crucial takeaway from all this? It's simple. If your system assumes it's operating in a harsher, more chaotic Byzantine world where nodes are actively malicious, your engineering blueprint is going to require significantly stronger, mathematically heavier, and frankly much more expensive structural guarantees just to survive. You can't just rely on simple majority voting anymore. You need heavy cryptography, intense gossip networks, and really rigid quorums.
I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to chew on before our next module. If the FLP impossibility mathematically proves that absolute certainty is impossible in a chaotic network, how on earth do modern blockchains manage to survive and process billions of dollars of value every single day? It's pretty wild to think about, right? It's a testament to the incredible engineering that we're really just scratched the surface of today. I highly encourage you to head over to forge.college to dive deeper into this subject and continue exploring the brilliant countermeasures of Web3 design. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.